Every fan of the Fallout franchise knows that each game allows for many different endings, but not all of them are good. Some are cruel or bitter, and they show us the consequences of a world left to survive on its own. As you may guess from the title, we are going to break out Fallout's bad endings. But be aware, some endings may seem the better of two evils. Stating things strongly, how about we explore the outcomes of a few of the bad endings that lead towards further desolation due to the consequences of your actions? From Necropolis to No Water Polis, the Wasteland is always an unforgiving place. It's both dangerous and horrific in the same quantities. Many horrors aren't even monsters. Some are humans and some are the players. It all comes down to one question. What would you do if you had to doom an entire vault just to save another civilization? Is it fair? Well, that is something that can happen all the way in the past. We are talking about Fallout 1. Yeah, the original. Remember when you took your first steps outside the vault and found yourself in a bitter struggle against mere rats and radroaches? Good old times. In this case, we will fast forward a bit. We all know about traveling to Shady Sands and started our list of good deeds. Except this time we are going to break from that flow and embrace the evil that lives in the wasteland. So after doing everything, good or bad, you will eventually find yourself in a really creepy place. And of course, you'll soon discover that it's a vault. Your journey was far from easy and the experience talks for you. The wasteland changed you, or perhaps you may have been evil from the beginning. Whatever the case, this takes you to Necropolis, one of those horrible experiment chambers that Vault Tech created. This one in particular is the final destination of your journey should you choose it. So be so, and are ready to accept the consequences that making this choice for this ending, and it involves treason. Killing a whole bunch of people whose only wrong in this cruel wasteland was trusting the protagonist. Oh, and of course, this single action would doom their entire city. Okay, but first of all, a bit of context. Necropolis got its name from two very key factors. First, it's one of the largest ghoul civilizations in this world. This city was originally created by the residents of Vault 12, and those that chose to remain there are in the majority the original dwellers of the place. The second thing is that the name was given to the vault because the experiment involved leaving the door just a little bit open for all the radiation after the nukes to come flooding in and, well, see what happens. When a cruel person is also an engineer with infinite supplies of money, well, the world becomes a playground for you and those at your side, I guess. But worth exploring a bit this situation. We all know how many of the vaults served as experimental projects, and this is one of the worst in my opinion. In Vault 12, they experimented with the long-term effects of radiation on the residents. They achieved this by modifying the vault's door to appear as though it had completely closed. But this was actually a ruse, one that was perfectly calculated. The seal had left an imperceptible gap at first glance, but that was more than enough room for the outside radiation to get in, causing them to become ghouls or die by radiation poisoning. Now remember, at this time, Vault Tech scientists weren't sure about what would have happened. They did it just for curiosity. Oh boy, this vault was constructed in Bakersfield, California, so when the nuking began, they urgently evacuated to the shelter of Vault 12. But in their hurry, without any real option to get into another shelter safety, little did they know that whatever fate they would have experienced outside might have been more merciful than the one in the very vault they had thought of as their salvation. Vault Tech shelters were supposed to keep them safe. Well, surprise, that salvation became more akin to damnation. The time they spent on the vault was enough to transform everyone into ghouls, and the ones lucky, or perhaps not lucky enough, well, they were far gone, the rest of them. All that the rest of these ghoulified vault dwellers could do was try to live the best they could. That was until the day that they noticed the safe door had not sealed completely. United, they would force open the VOP door and leave the hellish place that caused them to become into ghouls. On the outside world, they would band together with other ghouls and form what we know of today as Necropolis, or City of the Dead. Now that we took a history lesson, let's get rolling with the bad ending. They say that there is no good without evil, and this is exactly why they say that. You, an outsider with the power of changing the fate of a whole vault. And now too, what comes next? The whole civilization? Wait, in order to complete a request from Vault 13, and yes, the infamous one, the only reason you had to leave the life as a vault dweller behind, you need a water chip that is in possession of Vault 12, or so you have the information, and was faulty. So this water chip is your only opportunity right now. So you go, kill some super mutants, your companions get a head start into heaven, and you retrieve the chip. Nice and easy, right? But you skipped a whole step. You clinged into desperation and not only acquired the chip, you left those in the vault without it. So who gave you the right to play with so many lives? And so you got the objective. objective, but this is far from over. The consequences are far beyond your expectation. Hell, you doomed more than this vault. Crazy to think that doing this, you won't learn the whole picture of the super mutants, and so they will achieve their plans. The butterfly effect. After retrieving it, the ghouls of Necropolis learn that their bodies have some weakness besides radiation, and also learn something else. The final meaning of dehydration. The time passes by and their city succumbs to the desert sands. His vault is seeing the effects that your vault would have lived. The most important of all is that everyone is going to die if they don't leave. Oh, and also, the water runs out. This is obvious, but without their water purifying control chip, they do not survive. I mean, why would they if the most precious resource for a desert is now gone and dusted? The cherry on top of this bad ending is that 1 month after the events, the Unity, a faction of super mutants, launched an attack. If you have played the game, then you know that this makes no sense. If you didn't make it past Necropolis, how the mutants have located you so easily. But, well, details? Let's go with what the game actually tells us. Everything starts just with a coincidence. Yeah, you heard it right. A coincidence. Everything is because something happened down there. In particular, we are talking of something a bit sinister. We are talking about the murder of a super mutant that was located on the shed you took the chip from. Weird way of connecting things, but okay, I guess. Whatever the case, we all know that is a lie. Everything is a ruse from the Master. The attack was planned long ago, and they only used that for some sort of reason, if you can call it that way. Some ghouls can survive the lack of water, but Necropolis is doomed anyway. But if both things piles themselves, the raid to the city and the water chip stolen, nothing is left. The whole city is obliterated, and the narration of the ending tells us about the complete wipe out of the Necropolis of Vault 12. It sure sucks to be them in that month. Sheesh, a very bad ending for a long-lasting civilization. The game has many options, and you can make them survive both scenarios, or help them at least with the water, so that's the charm of the first game. Your decisions mattered, but at the same time you had a lot of potential to do good deeds too. Now that we talked about ghouls, what if the Romans revived and wanted to take over the whole Mojave Desert? Hard to say, but definitely possible. With our help, the Legion wins. Yeah, New Vegas is still in the spotlight after all this time. Well, in this case, it is very much worth the spot in here. First of all, why the hell are you helping the Legion, man? Is there something wrong with you? And for seconds, you start this path very early in the game, so it is kind of easy to miss the whole quest, by mistake or because you're righteous. Anyway, this starts with the infamous lottery that the random dude that always dies in mysterious circumstances won when you get near the raided city. Here is a place called Nipton. I talk in past because at the moment you get here, well, there's no city left. The dude that just came running and, well, was shot by someone is named Oliver, and he yelled something about winning the lottery. Don't make sense right now, but wait a bit. The town was basically massacred by Caesar's Legion. You can clearly see all the destruction that got by as a bonus. If you enter one of the houses around, you can see the second winner of the lottery and, well, not gonna talk more about his state. Well, here starts your totally not righteous way. Do not attack Vulpes or any Legion soldier is of the most utmost importance. If you do this the civil way, Vulpes Incolda, a high rank of the Caesar's Legion will talk to you. If you accept to transmit the message, this will prevent the early hostility. You can still pivot, but from now continue your road. This was the first approach, and even if something didn't go well, later in the story Caesar can give the opportunity to forgive you and reset your standing with the Legion. This can only happen if you don't kill too many patrols, even if they are hostile towards you. Now fast forward to recovering the platinum chip. When you leave the tops with the chip in your hands, a Legion messenger will approach you and give you something, the mark of Caesar. This is a very important item, and the messenger approaching you means alone that crimes that you may have committed are forgiven. This is where the Legion ending will start. So now the next logical step is to go and meet the Mighty One, the leader of the Legion. This starts at the same time a chain of events and missions that will ultimately lead to a decision. Okay, so you grab the boat and now you are near the tent of the Caesar. It is a bit strange to be there honestly, as I always get here with my boy Boone and we clean up the whole camp, but okay, I take it this time. The conversation here is a bit interesting and boring in equal terms. Why do you ask? Because to this point, you already accomplished the objective of getting revenge, and that's exactly why Caesar took an interest in you. So now he talks about why he is the best choice to help, not that he expects you to not be at his side, and he kind of has a point. It's just that across your journey in the Mojave, the horrors you can see that the Legion do is simply crazy thinking to think that letting those maniacs in control is a good idea, but let's play the oblivious dude that simply didn't saw or didn't care about those acts. So now he tries to talk you into it. And while he can be convincing and some things not gonna lie, like, for example, one of his most powerful, saying it in some way, arguments are that the NCR is corrupt, overextended, and failing in maintaining a solid base for the future. And everything because the NCR is corrupt? You may have already seen that before and basically has outposts without a connection between them or something. They just exist. Bad leadership, if you ask me. Oh boy, and now here is the comparison. The Legion is basically better at everything, or at least that is what the Caesar believes, just for starters with the reason of being in a wasteland. And why is that important? Because the Legion follows order through absolute authority. So to resume the long chat, the Legion, what conquers make it stronger, and the way they do things create a stabilized civilization. Ha, what a joke, but okay dude. After that you can choose the brutality of this faction or say yes, and then abandon alive to fight them another day. In case you want to talk in more depth about this character, if you actually have some intelligence, you can challenge his ideas in purely conversation manner and learn some more about his logic. Nothing that will surprise you, but okay. Or, well, there is one brutal detail. During the conversation, if you push the correct buttons, you can learn about a brain tumor that Caesar has. Save it for later. Following the actual mission, you have to go to a bunker under the fort, and this is the first major Legion mission, so there's no way back after this. You have to find a bunker full of Securitrons that Mr. House has safely stashed away. This is fairly easy, so following the way back, he can be pleased or not. Depends on your efficiency. So let's say you did it right. Now we have the next step. Eliminate House. And so here we go. The goal is simple and to the point. Reach whatever control chamber or site he is hiding and finish him. This is the last cornerstone before completely shifting the ending to be the Legion one. With the bunker gone, you could still hit a bit of that variation between factions, but now is on. After this, you're an ally of the Legion, so expect a different treatment. Besides that, you get a new mission, go and disrupt the NCR support, and any ally they could have. More easier said than done, but possible. So we start with some simple ones. We go to the boomers, and depending on your previous choices, you can destroy them, disrupt them, or directly manipulate them to do what you want if you previously befriended them. So, cool one down. After that, minimal missions appear to disrupt and destroy the NCR piece by piece. Hit here or there, nothing serious, but damage is damage. At the same time, the Caesar brain tumor appears again, and you can let him die or bring someone to help him. You can perform surgery on him yourself with enough medicine skills. So, go ahead. Still, this doesn't change much besides Caesar dying and the Legion falling in arms of Legate Lanius. Yeah, a small, almost imperceptible detail. With all said and done, you get to the second battle of Hoover Dam, and here's the final showdown. You win this almost automatically if you did every mission right, but still fairly impressive with all the numbers. Another cool detail is that Caesar can do one of his speeches here if you help him live, or Legate Lanius will lead them to battle embracing the most cruel and brutal side so you can see what to expect of his leadership. So after finishing this fight, you can see a couple of things. First of all, the casinos almost fully disappear or are very controlled. The people are basically slaves, or at least the few that survived. The Mojave became a new frontier province for the Legion, and the NCR is forced to retreat west. A huge disaster, and maybe they will be so weak that as a whole that faction could disappear. You are remembered as a legend for the Legion, one of the key figures that helped the Legion, and oh boy, what a future you made. In the end, this ending is very bare bones. You can see that they create a system very ambiguous, as the game never tells you if they will stand for a long term or die trying. And that's because a lot of the Legion content was cut out of the game by the devs, so bad engine in both ways. But now that we learned how to decimate a civilization to pledge to a dude that is like a god for his people, what if we destroyed the first civilization in Fallout, or at least the first ones trying, Shady Sands, destroyed? If nothing fancies you in terms of horrible destinies, what about completely wiping out the first serious try of society to rebuild civilization? Yes, that is an obtainable option. So let's dig into it. As we well know, Shady Sands has risen to be an important capital in the new California Republic. We saw it rise from nothing to the vast economic power it holds on the games. You remember that first settlement you find with almost nothing with it except more to do and more people that needs help? Well, it evolved and it did it well, if we look at canon. But what if I told you that in a different timeline, Shady Sands never got the chance to become what it was truly known for? Now that is a bad ending for, well, all of the wasteland, because you can say anything you want about the NCR, but they did far greater good than damage. Just look at New Vegas again and how it transforms if something like the Legion won. No contest? How does this happen? Let's travel across the multiverse to find out how, in this particular moment in an alternative universe, the key people that would have changed everything for the better died, disappeared in action, or are straight up totally different people. So, the consequences are severe. We are outside of everything that actually cares about this new try for a civilization. In a world where the most important people that contribute with the rise of Shandy Sands are either missing or no longer part of this world, we are basically done. Just think about it for a second. What if every protag went rouge or directly didn't exist? We are positive that this leads towards a drastic change in the history of what we know, and being more specific, the today of the new California Republic, in some manner of speaking. So now, with the case in point, what's the big deal here? Well, that's a fair question. In case you don't know, and to be honest, is fair, the original games have been around for so long that small details are very easy to slip. The ones that contribute to this massive surge are none other than Aradesh and Tandy. In case you forget these names, they are key characters for the quests and one of your first totally free actions in the game. Although the main leader of Shady Sand is Aradesh, it doesn't leave behind his daughter, who also takes a part of the decisions as a second president. Kind of a strange choice, as this was only the beginning of the civilization as we know it, but still good to have a bit of democracy in terms of contradicting ideas with different people and choosing the best to get forward. So where's the bad part of the ending in this universe is that you don't save either Aradesh or Tandy. Yeah, you heard right. Neither of them, to be fair, is kind of easy to do it. So in my canon, the Vault Dweller didn't do it because he didn't feel like it. He was more evil than the canon counterpart, or at least wasn't as skilled or had the courage. We may never know. Even if only one of them survives, that's enough for this civilization to go and then make Shady Sands great. Not again, because this doesn't happen in this timeline. Yet, well, no, it will never happen. I think that besides explaining the big picture, a bit of context could do wonders to explain why this failed so bad. Shady Sands is the first ever location where something does not attack you in sight, and that itself makes it really special for the Vault Dweller and the player. You have found the remnants of the civilization that the Vault always said that was done and dusted. Talking around will net you some good information about the roundarounds and the overall status of the city if you can tell that group of Wood City, but you get the point. One particular dip of information is a problem that is haunting the place. And oh boy, here we go. Here you learn about this conflict, a kidnapping that involves raiders named Great Khans that constantly harass this town with attacks. For some reason, these kinds of people always find a way of surviving, and for some reason, probably with easy resources, they have this poor city as their main focus. That's the main problem, but the most urgent one is because of the last attempts, and in particular one of their recurrent attempts to conquer and destroy the town by some dumb luck, or they actually planned it. It never is clear, but basically they managed to kidnap Tandy. The process is obvious, and the consequence is the same. Without the intervention of the Vault Dweller, who tries to rescue her, is the father, and, well, they managed to kill both of the main brains. You can even kill them yourself if you want to. Why would you do that, though? But still, the point stands. Without them, the town was not the same. Not that they were insta-nuked or something, but basically the hands of the town would never be filled correctly. And if that was hard, doing so on an urgent basis was terrible for the town. It happened, though, and after some elections, we got a brand new and shiny dude. Not literally, but you catch the drift. The problem started there in a very dubious way. We had the new president who strangely couldn't make decisions. They came to the conclusion that they needed 2 leaders instead of 1. A weird decision, though, but I think that it showed that the end was near. So let's fast forward to what happened after that. They didn't manage to make Shady Sands the economic power that it was meant to be, never could solve their problems, and were more weak than any other time. To be fair here, they also, around that time, received a new uninvited raid by the Khans, leaving this town to burn down into ashes. They actually managed to, and this is where I ask the question, why? Those dudes probably would have died too, as the wasteland won't be giving them more resources, and they weren't exactly on both feet too, but opinions. A very bad ending for this very important town. Thinking about this, besides the darker tone of the slides in the end that will always haunt you because the better world was in your hands, is a sad ending to a game. Remember that out there the NCR would have helped it evolve into a much better place, but after this, well, it might not even exist as we know it today. Now, what if the faction that always is helping humans around had the one taking the shots in bed with the ones that had been taking advantage of all the rest? Brotherhood of Steel bends. Too much to say about them. They are the greater good in some aspects and the absolute worst in others. So, what would you say if I tell you that at some point in the Fallout story, this faction almost killed the human race? Yeah, the one they are supposed to protect. They don't need an introduction. We all know who the Brotherhood of Steel is, and just like before, we will sort this out similar to the last one. In this multiverse, it is not as promising as it would have been with a major difference. This also can happen if you don't do anything, as the mole is already in. We are standing in a construction where the moment that you remove the right brick, well, basically, you can destroy the building. And this is what happens with certain factions. The only reason that the Brotherhood stands tall in the current timeline is because of a certain leader that you know well, or at least you should know. With Rhombus as the head, nothing went bad for the Brotherhood. He was the reason that they got in their prime, and not by being violent or terrorist. It was a slow and peaceful rise. They aided other settlements to fight against the mutants, preventing more human losses in this harsh world. They also slowly began reintroducing technology into this world, thanks to the research that they did. The Brotherhood stands for the humanity, and while they don't close the eyes to tech after a while, and they know that they need real weaponry to fight off all the monsters in the wasteland, never became so obsessive with discipline or an iron hand, that would have transformed them into a full tech legion, and nobody wants that. A good boss sure knows how to achieve success, and he did it very well, but that is not the point here. So what would happen if Rhombus wasn't alive when all of this began? That is the point of this bad ending. There is a very key factor that leads to the destruction of the Brotherhood. The key is called Kedrick. In the day, he is loyal to the Brotherhood and a role model for the new recruits. You can say he is the guy you want to be in your time with the Brotherhood, but at night, he transforms into the mole that he is. This guy is the reason everything went south from here. To trigger the downfall of the Brotherhood, he needs to be alive for 170 days. With this much time, he puts in action this plan. He was always conspiring with the Unity just in case you fall asleep in history. The Unity is this faction led by Masters, which was this radical idea to turn people into super mutants and have this so-called perfect race. And it looks like our friend here had the same mindset as Masters, and planned an invasion of super mutants towards the Brotherhood without no one knowing he was behind all of it. The Brotherhood stood tall during the first wave of super mutants. With a moral high, they thought that it was a clean win for them, and then it happened the traitor caused the destruction by the Citadel. Not even Rhombus could have thought that one of his most loyal recruits could cause this much damage. With this, the Brotherhood is no more, and the mutants are in charge of the place. Luckily for us, the technology is way more advanced than the one that the mutant has, but slowly they are learning to control it. I don't know why all the bad endings lead towards the destruction, annihilation, and murder of whole civilizations, but oh well, at least we can know what to expect from this. Having one bad ending is a cool nod or a sad sight, but what do you think about having 4? That would crush your heart. 4 endings are better than 1. We sure have an appetite right here, so you better get ready for what is going to happen next, because we are not going to talk about 1 nor 2, not even 3, but 4 endings that happen over in Fallout 4. The battle over the Commonwealth never ends, especially when you have so many forces waiting for their chance to clash with one another, having their destiny sealed. We will see the first faction and how its bad ending arrived with your intervention. Remember, this was the most neutral one. You cannot avoid helping them at least once. The Minutemen. Although the Minutemen are like the pacifists, but with the right help, they can become a very strong force that can even rival the likes of the Brotherhood. Now that the Institute is out of their way and don't pose a threat. Thanks to the sole survivor, the Minutemen became more powerful. And you know what they say, with great power comes great responsibility, but at least they didn't know that, and they sure began to use the power they gained to go against all of them. They managed to destroy the Brotherhood of Steel. Poor boys, they sure know how to have their own bad ending. And if that wasn't enough, the Minutemen can become enemies with the Railroad faction just because of the destruction of the Institute. You didn't let them know to evacuate in time. A little bit of respect over here. They are supposed to be your allies. Backstabbing allies and destroying the ones that oppose a threat is sure an ending for a faction in the Fallout world, but that is not the case. Because we are here to talk about bad endings. Like all of the other factions, their destruction is inevitable, and it is none other than by the hand hands of the Institute, these guys sure don't like the guys from the Hood. As the only faction left, you are given the option to either be with them or go towards heaven. Like I say, you don't oppose a threat to the Institute, but they have to be sure that no one can ever oppose the Institute. Even though the Minutemen alone are not a threat with the Institute in charge, leave no room for decisions. You are as disposable as a plastic bag. A pretty sad ending with them, don't you agree? Now that you're walking this path, I hope that you can fight through metal, because the toughest cookie around here could not be you. Brotherhood of Steel, again. You again? Well, I guess you don't have many allies over in this world, but oh well, what can we do? As the one in charge of making the decision, well, let's say that you don't always play as well. Especially in Fallout, in this bad ending, you also need the Institute to be a part of this, but not on the attack, but becoming your enemy. And with the Minutemen on your side, tensions over who can command and rule the Commonwealth surge even more. With this much power, you decided that you don't want to befriend the Brotherhood anymore. So what do? Exactly. You kill them all, earning the title as #1 enemy for the Brotherhood. This means that whenever they see you, they will charge an all-out attack and try to avenge the ones that have fallen in your hands, until one day you woke up on the wrong side of the bed, you are all grumpy, and you seek a way to end the Brotherhood once and for all, and that is where they come in. You can ask kindly for them to delete the enemy before you, and they make it happen. The Brotherhood didn't know why they were doing this, but this feeling is strangely similar to them, as it almost way experienced betrayal before. The fight was rough, but the Brotherhood wasn't a match for you and your new allies. You witnessed, right before your eyes, the destruction of the Brotherhood. And now that we talked about an open war, what about searching for those who did the guerrilla style until now? Yeah, we are talking about that very secretive faction under the Wasteland, the end of the Railroad. Although the Railroad is a faction that does not have the impact or power of the other facilities, they are troublesome to some due to their ideology, which consists of protecting the synths from the likes of the Institute. As you may know, the Institute has this weird program where they hunt down and reset the windows of the synths that don't follow or don't have the same ideas as them. They are very drastic on this topic. They have to do whatever they can to make the sheep follow the herd. And, well, the Brotherhood is all about the humans and all that stuff, so the Railroad does have very different ideas, and that's what leads them to their demise. Just like that, the Railroad has two separate ways, but both of them take them to their destruction by the hand of either the Brotherhood or the Institute. The pacifist road almost never works, especially in a world that is the survival of the fittest. Maybe if there wasn't so much greed over having power, they might have ended differently. Okay, now that you have achieved everything you dreamed of, if that was destroying every faction that could push a better future, then you're ready to know about the next ending, the Institute Absolute Ruler. I like to think that the Institute is this one guy that has no friends at all, but no one, even the most pacifist faction like the Institute, well, it is pretty clear why this happens. It is all because of their mess-up ideology to make synths the new cooler human. They like to pursue new technologies, unlike the Brotherhood that preserves and utilizes the old days technology, but how can you not be afraid of this? They might come flying towards you with laser beams. Imagine having a three-sided relationship with all the factions wanting to destroy you, but they all failed to do so. The Institute became the absolute ruler of the Commonwealth, and with this began their reign of terror. For the sake of this bad ending, we will say that the Institute also eliminated the Minutemen. It is possible, but somehow they can form an alliance together, but not this time. Now that no one stands in their way, the terror began, starting off with a major upgrade on their nuclear reactor. With this energy, it is sure that it will never run out, and also this enables them to make a mass production of synths. With synthesis patrolling all over the Commonwealth as well, that flags of the Institute began to rise over the cities, the Institute assures its dominance and will not allow anyone to rise against them again. The main troublemaker of all this show, yeah, I am looking at you, Sole Survivor, he gets promoted to the position of the director, and all that it took was a bit of mass destruction. The new boss, Nuka World, the only zone in any Fallout that can get the worst side of a main character in my opinion. Let's make a quick recap of how we can become a gang boss in the first place. One day you are chilling listening to the radio, and the next one you are commanding the raiders to destroy everything that you worked for. The DLC is famous for the amount of infamy you can get in less than a couple of hours. The fact that you can effectively destroy everything that you worked on in the main story makes this hilarious and ironic at the same time. Once you reach the amusement park, you will have some showdowns with the current boss. If you kill him, you are able to choose a group to have in charge of the territory, the operators, the disciples, and the pack. Each one of these groups is in charge of their territory in the amusement park, and it's kind of obvious that you will manage if you decide decide to become their boss. You have another option too. If you don't want to, then you can simply kill them all and leave like nothing ever happened. Maybe we aren't meant to do good things, but this would be one in my opinion if the other one is controlling everything. But with that said, a question. How bad can it be if you were just controlling a part of the amusement park? Remember that everything is a ruse. The amusement park is your base of operations for a bigger plan ahead, and after a couple of moments of planning, you are sending raiders of your faction to enslave people and bring you money. And just like that, you're the mafia of this world. You can see them moving in and out like any assembly line, but full of raiders. Of course, you can always end this, but what fun will it be if you don't get the full experience? I think being a slaver and boss for once won't kill anyone. I'm lying. Don't worry if you are one of the special people that always follow the righteous path, like me. You can always stay in your territory and defend it. You don't have to kill everyone around you. You can use this power for a greater good. Also, if nothing fancies you, well, the last option would be to watch others do your bidding. So it sort of becomes a democracy. But at the same time, no, not gonna lie. The path of good in this DLC is a bit worse than the other way around. As you can see, Fallout has very unique and bad endings that you can achieve by doing the story, making bad decisions, or just by making enemies. It shows that they sure thought about everything. The cool part about all these endings is that every one of them is avoidable or obtainable. If you play your cards right, you can destroy everything because you can, or not, because you also can. If you enjoyed this video and want to see the most dishonorable things each Fallout protagonist has done, click the video on the screen.